Okay, I've got my modulator valve installed on the engine on the 96 Toyota Avalon. Modulator valve ties in with the EGR. This senses back pressure, exhaust back pressure, and regulates the amount of vacuum that's pulled on the EGR valve, which in turn regulates how much the valve opens. And we're going to test it here with the vacuum pump and see what kind of readings we get in comparison with the original one that I pulled off just a few minutes ago. So here we go. This vacuum pump is like a Mighty Vac. It's available just about anywhere as far as the part stores and ordering online. It's a great piece of equipment to use when diagnosing this type of a problem. What I've done here is I've got a vacuum hose with a T, and I'm going to plug this T in line with the EGR valve hose that goes to the solenoid, or the VSV, vacuum switching valve. The vacuum switching valve is actually this one right here. It has a brown connector on it. This hose that's closest to the atmospheric air filter, this is the hose that goes directly to the EGR valve, and this is what supplies vacuum to the valve and opens it and releases it when the vacuum is cut off. We're going to pull this hose off, and we're going to attach our vacuum pump to that hose with a T, and then we're going to reconnect it right to the EGR valve like that. Alright, so we're teed in with our vacuum pump. This is going to show us the vacuum readings when the engine is warmed up, or rather in closed loop mode. When it's in closed loop mode, the OBD system will activate the EGR valve. And I'm going to go ahead and race the engine a little bit. And you can see that the vacuum does not change much when the engine is cold and open loop position. You should see that change once the engine is warmed up. We've got the engine warmed up a little bit now, and we're going to race the engine a little bit and see if the vacuum readings change with the new modulator valve installed. Now, by the way, this is a Dorman. This is an aftermarket. I don't see any problem at all using a Dorman part as opposed to an OEM part. It's a lot cheaper. This cost me about $37 with tax. And it's a lot cheaper than $80 or $100 on the original parts. So just bear that in mind. I've not had any problem, using some of these aftermarket parts. Every now and then you're going to get a bad one, but what can you do about that? You just swap it out for another one. But here we go. We're going to check this out. It's in idle condition now. We're going to go ahead and race the engine, see if the vacuum changes. If the vacuum does start to fluctuate, that means the modulator valve is working. And that's what the problem was with my check engine light being on for insufficient EGR airflow. So we'll see. Here we go. It's working. Now when I raise this up to about 3,500 RPM, which is what Toyota says to do, race the engine to 3,500 and make sure you have a sharp increase in vacuum. So that's what I'm doing here. Now you see, once it reaches a certain point, it'll drop off. It'll shut the EGR valve off once the engine levels out at RPM. And so I'll show this to you one more time. See, it hits about 3,500 and goes 20 plus inches on vacuum, and then it drops off. So that's normal. If you test the components individually and try to verify which component is bad, then you'll save a lot of money. Because that's pretty much how to diagnose the EGR check engine light problem with, what is it, a P0401. And for insufficient airflow, it could be any one of these components, but it ended up being the modulator valve, and also one of the cheapest parts to replace. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, feel free to post it. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.